Hello, I'm Neil Armstrong from TribePad. I'm here today to share 3 themes for post-pandemic talent acquisition. So these are things that HR leaders need to be aware of and should be challenging your recruitment team to raise their game. Used right, these tools in your organization can really strengthen company culture and should drive profitability as well. So let's start with the 18th of March. The world for talent acquisition changed considerably on that day. Mass redundancies started, literally millions of hourly paid workers suddenly didn't know where the rent money was coming from. But supermarkets in particular went on a hiring spree. So in a normal week, Tesco, who is a TribePad client, will receive about 20,000 applications. This graph here shows that we received 1 million applications in just 1 week, and that led to Tesco hiring 4,500 new roles. So how are HRDs reacting to this crisis? And more importantly, what comes next? So if you haven't come across them before, Fosway are Europe's leading HR technology analysts. They have a report that they recently put out, which is Talent Acquisition 9 Grid. And in that analysis, TribePad's been identified in the middle box there as a core challenger. Interestingly, what Fosway say at the moment is that organizations are either imploding or exploding in recruitment. So if the company is imploding, that means they have a hiring freeze, they might have lots of employees who are furloughed, they may even be doing redundancy and redeployment exercises. If those organizations are exploding, they have the opposite problem. Huge demand for their services, perhaps in food retail, healthcare, certain areas of technology, government sectors, the charitable sector. And those organizations are rapidly innovating and rapidly evolving to try to cope with the unexpected seasonal demand. So whether your organization is exploding or imploding, this is a great opportunity for HR directors to focus on culture and focus on recruitment and see what comes next. So there's 3 areas I'm going to talk to you about today. The first is candidate experience. This has to be brilliant at every touch. It's more important than ever. Promoting your company culture to your candidates is absolutely crucial at every touch point. Video interviewing. Even your nan is using Zoom for her Zumba classes. So anybody recruiting at the moment is probably using video interviewing. The adoption excuses are gone. The benefits are obvious. Onboarding. If you're recruiting, then clearly the old methods of face-to-face inductions just don't work anymore. So lots of organizations are innovating right now, trying to find new ways of doing things remotely for people they are onboarding. If you're not hiring at the moment and you have got furloughed staff, again, this is an opportunity to revisit those old methods and work out how you're going to go forward. A quick word on TribePad. So we are a recruitment software specialist. We have a complete talent acquisition suite, which comprises applicant tracking system, onboarding, video interviewing, CRM, chatbot. We've grown by recommendation over the last 10 years. We're used by more than 20 million people globally. And we work with some of the UK's best known organisations. So we work particularly well with organisations who have at least 500 staff and have quite specific requirements in terms of organisational complexity, perhaps different divisions across different countries where standard off-the-shelf software just can't handle those requirements. And perhaps those organisations also need a level of care and attentiveness and flexibility that the giant global software firms can't deliver. We also have a freelance management system that is used by the BBC for all of their off-screen talent. So whether you're a runner on the One Show or a camera operator swimming under the Arctic for Attenborough, the BBC hires freelancers and contractors through this system. It's also used by professional services firms. And very recently, we have rolled out our software free of charge to a number of charities who've been coordinating coronavirus volunteers across the UK using our flexible working platform. Okay, so let's get on to candidate experience. So in the light of COVID and lockdowns and the furlough scheme, lots of HR directors have suddenly found themselves being listened to an awful lot more around the boardroom. Many companies have refocused on their employees and understood just how crucial they are in delivering their service and their profitability. Hopefully that's going to be a positive move where we'll have more opportunity to focus on culture. And so we think that by focusing on the culture of your organization, you can really attract and retain the best staff. And that in turn will obviously deliver those business benefits that everybody around the board table is looking to achieve. So it's always been important to deliver a great candidate experience, of course, but now more than ever, 90% plus of job applications are done on mobile devices. A huge majority of job searches start on Google. They may well then go through Indeed, for example. So to start with, your organization and your job has to be easy to find by not just humans, but bots as well. Many companies spend lots of money developing a beautiful EVP, lovely careers website with lots of enticing video. The problem is if you search for a job, click on the job ad, you miss all of that and you go straight to the applicant tracking system, which contains the job. So it's really important that your applicant tracking system itself is completely on brand, is attentive, attractive, beautiful, and accessible, so you're not ruling out anybody who's got diversity requirements. So you don't want a plain white, boring, generic applicant tracking system page full of boring text. You don't want a horrible long URL. This needs to represent your company in the best way possible. We know that job adverts, for example, with a hiring manager filming a video to his smartphone, can see 200% more applications than just a standard text job ad. In terms of then making it simple for your candidates to apply, parsing in profile from LinkedIn, uploading your CV from a mobile device, perhaps using Dropbox or Google Drive, really important features. So it really is important to focus on candidate experience right from the very first touch to make sure that your organization is putting itself across in the best way possible. So we did some research last year called Hiring Humans, Recruiting Robots. And this is about how the candidate experience has changed as candidates have become more savvy to the technology that HR teams are employing. So what we found, which won't be a surprise to many people, is that candidates are applying for as many as 80 jobs at once these days, and they apply before they've considered the company. So the old way of applying might be consider a role, find the companies you're interested in, then only apply for a small number of jobs. Now it's apply for a huge number of jobs, see which of those you get shortlisted for, then consider whether you like the company or not, and then the application progresses. So with that in mind, HR leaders really need to think about the interaction that they're giving candidates during that application process. How quick are the points of feedback? Are they on brand? Are they reinforcing your organization and reassuring the candidate at every opportunity? So you really need to make it easy for the candidate to interact with you. So simple things like arranging the first interview can be incredibly painful for your hiring managers and your recruiters, and the candidate just won't stand for it. They will just drop out of the process. So let's go back to that volume example I mentioned right at the start here, where Tesco received 1 million job applications in a week. Now, you might think that that sort of volume would cause a complete nightmare for an organization. But with the right processes and the right tools, you can still deliver a fantastic candidate experience, even with incredible volumes. So you can see this tweet that was shared generates positive feedback for the brand and shows that an incredible time to hire can be achieved even with these huge volumes. Of course, not everything goes perfectly. So this is an example where comedian Jason Manford actually applied for a job at his local Tesco, wasn't successful, but he quickly got a nicely branded email that showed where he was in the process, why he hadn't been successful. Of course, he shared that on social media, more positive publicity for the brand. Okay, let's talk about video interviewing. Lots of organizations were already using video interviewing before all this madness happened. But lots of people have been forced to adopt it in a hurry. The question is for HR leaders is how much of this is short-term reaction and how much of this is long-term change that needs to be factored in. So the most common type of video interviews prior to all of this was, of course, one-way interviews. This is a way of bulk screening large numbers of candidates, typically replacing an initial phone interview, very popular in early careers. It allows for a really consistent set of questions to be asked of the candidate. Massively reduces the administration hassle for hiring managers and recruiters. It's also miles better experience for the candidate because rather than having to hide in their car or pull a sickie to attend a first phone interview, they can answer the questions from the comfort of their sofa from their own home. And of course, hiring managers as well don't have to be present during the day. They can review these candidates at their leisure, on the train, on the sofa, wherever. For HR directors, there's huge benefits in terms of integration with your software so that you can trigger invites, you can track completion rates. In terms of compliance, you can review decisions. You've got clear evidence for which decisions were made and why. You can also track bias very clearly because you can understand the different ratings that different managers might assign to the same interview, which you've never been able to do if you've been doing a phone interview, for example. And in terms of reporting, if you're going to invest in technology, you need to have a very clear understanding of the efficiency gains that are being driven and the ROI that you're being achieved. And video interviewing delivers that in a way that's an absolute no-brainer. Now, typically, one-way video interviews consist of 3 to 5 questions. Perhaps the candidate answers for up to 30 seconds. And you can expect somewhere between 40 to 60% of candidates to make it through, in terms of completing this. It's higher for early careers, can go up to as high as 90% completion rates if the video interviewing stage is later in the process. What you saw here as well is that you can get automated transcription of the interviews into from speech to text. And as soon as you've got that transcript in text, you can search for keywords. You can also translate it into other languages. So HR directors who have a European or a global remit, you can potentially deploy one solution. You can have remote recruitment teams able to operate across different countries and different languages. Where's video interviewing going? Well, facial recognition is becoming more and more important. We're able to start to make predictions about the candidate's personality in terms of the words that they're using, the sentiment of how they're describing their experience. We use artificial intelligence in our platform, but we think it's really important that that shouldn't take away from human decisions. There shouldn't be black box AI where somebody else decides who hires the candidate. These tools should only ever be there to enhance an HR professional's information so that they can make the decision. It shouldn't be, computer should not say no. Of course, right now, two-way live video interview is being used. Lots of people are making do with the tools that they've got, whether it's Zoom or Skype or FaceTime or whatever. And the problem with those solutions is they weren't designed for interviewing, so they're not necessarily automatically being recorded. They don't necessarily link into your applicant tracking system where you can score the interview. And quite often candidates have to download an app or install software, which can cause dropout in the process. So specialist recruiting video software delivers considerable benefits. Of course, not only does it have to be can it be a one-to-one interview where you might replace a simple face-to-face interview, it can also replace panel interviews at the moment. And perhaps we'll see this stick as a long-term technology change in the future as well. Okay, we'll finish off with onboarding. Always been a hot topic, even more crucial in a post-COVID world where that face-to-face onboarding isn't necessarily possible at the moment. So HR directors should certainly be concerned with hiring success. We know that organizations who deliver a really slick onboarding process see 42% lower turnover of new hires, and they can have a time to efficiency in terms of that employee being productive as much as 50% faster. So lots of companies are investing in onboarding at the moment, and there are some great platforms out there. Really, these things should be able to integrate your applicant tracking system. They should be able to share company policies. They should be able to capture information from the candidate in the form of questionnaires. They should be able to generate reference requests to go and understand the background of this, the person that you're bringing on board. And of course, you want to be able to share videos with the candidates as well in terms of welcoming them into the organization, perhaps a greeting from the CEO, perhaps a personally filmed video from their hiring manager, and a get to know your team interview. Of course, right to work is quite difficult to do at the moment. And so more and more organizations are doing that remotely. And you need to be able to provide complete employment histories and understand where your candidates have been working before. So it's really important that this isn't just a compliance tool. It needs to deliver a really great experience and be on brand. It needs to be enticing, it needs to be mobile optimized, it needs to be easy to revisit. Lots of notifications and reminders and gamification for the candidate to make sure they get all the way through the process. And of course, you should be offering an e-signature solution so that you're capturing the information that you need from the candidate, and we're not having to send paper through the post with wet ink on there. So from a compliance point of view, you as an HR director can understand completely what your onboarding pipeline looks like, even when it's remote. You can handle a dispersed workforce, and you've got one truth in real time. So this is a really simple business case to build. So to conclude, delivering a candidate experience that's fantastic is really important. Got to be mobile optimized, easy to apply, regular updates for your candidates. Video interview is here to stay. It can save a huge amount of time for you, and it's a much better experience for the candidate. In terms of e-contracts and onboarding, these are absolutely must-have functionality for HR directors. It improves your retention rates, it improves time to productivity, key measures of business success. But what I'd say is this isn't about tomorrow's AI whizziness. This is today's capabilities. It's about getting the basics right with clear ROI and clear business benefits. And this can really help HR directors prove their value around the board table. So thank you very much. We'd love the opportunity to talk with you and understand your challenges and see if we can help. Thank you.